Why would any Republican suggest we need to study border security? When I was Speaker of the House, we're talking now about 20 years ago, we passed the initial wall for San Diego, and it works. We don't need to study the wall. And frankly, it's a lie.
Well, that was former Speaker of the House, of course, Newt Gingrich, referring to a bipartisan immigration bill that is expected to be introduced into the Senate today. Its sponsors are John McCain of Arizona, Republican, and Democrat Chris Coons of Delaware. The Wall Street Journal reporting that bill offers a path to citizenship for the so-called Dreamers, but it does not include immediate funding for a wall on our southern border. All this as the deadline is looming for another short-term spending bill. You know, Congress was passed that by Thursday in order to avoid another government shutdown. Meanwhile, President Trump tweeting any deal without money for a border wall is, in his words, a non-starter, saying, quote, any deal on DACA that does not include strong border security and the desperately needed wall is a total waste of time. March 5th is rapidly approaching, and the Dems seem not to care about DACA. Make a deal. Marjorie Clifton, former Obama campaign consultant, joins us. Now the principal of Clifton Consulting, Republican strategist, Lisa Booth, Fox News contributor.
Hi,
welcome
Eric.
to you both. Lisa, let me start with you.
Thank you.
The president is saying make a deal, but how do they make a deal if there's no border wall in it?
Well, exactly. And look, I don't think the Democrats are negotiating in good faith here. President Trump laid out a very middle-of-the-road plan that really got a lot of conservatives on the right upset with him, giving a pathway to citizenship to 1.8 million illegal immigrants. And Nancy Pelosi said that it was a plan to make America white again. So I'm not really sure where you go from there, that giving amnesty to 1.8 million illegal immigrants is making America white again. You also had Senator Dick Durbin that leaked alleged comments in an effort to try to hurt President Trump politically, and the Democrats shut down the federal government over DACA. So I think all of those things combined demonstrate the left not really negotiating in a good faith effort with
Marjorie,
Republicans.
do you think that's the case, that they're not operating in good faith? And how do you get a deal if, according to Lisa, they're not operating in good faith?
Well, there are, on both sides of the aisle, are people who are standing their ground on certain issues and unwilling to give at all, which is the border wall on one end, path to citizenship on the other. So I actually think what John McCain and Chris Coons have proposed, again, representing both parties, it makes a lot of sense because it's moving it out of the emotional, which is I've got to have my wall or I've got to have, family immigration, all different kinds of issues, to let's take a rational approach. And that rational approach being, let's look at it and actually find out what works in terms of border security. Immigration has changed in 20 years since Newt Gingrich talked about the wall going up in San Diego. We need to look at, from a practical standpoint, how we spend money and what will work. People do not argue that border security or some kind of enforcement needs to happen, but they do think that from a humanitarian standpoint, we need to protect the people who came here as children by no will of their own. So that's a practical approach.
But Marjorie, the president would say his wall is not emotional. The president would say chain migration is not emotional. He would also say that the visa diversity lottery is not emotional. It's practical. And that's why he wants to propose that, and that's why he wants his wall.
Well, and Eric,
and if that's true, then a study will illustrate that. If that's true, then that means that what research will show is it will illustrate it.
Eric, the reality is that the Democrats have expressed zero interest in addressing the underlying concerns or border security or addressing illegality at the southern border. They've demonstrated zero desire to address those issues. So President Trump is saying we have to address.
It's not really the case that they have a zero desire.
No, that's actually not true. That's actually not true.
Yes, there is the
compromise.
Marjorie and Lisa, wait a minute.
The compromise I'm sorry.
Sorry, wait a minute. Let me break in only because it's not really that they have a zero desire. You got this Chris Coons McCain bill, Lisa,
which
that
does nothing with border security.
It has no wall, but it does try to improve and does have budget money in there to deal with the border security. But as you say, there is no wall, Lisa.
Eric, we know that's a joke, though. And also, Senator John McCain is an outlier to many Republicans on this issue, and it's going to be a non-starter, particularly with the House Freedom Caucus, which they have to move this through the House as well. And Marjorie, if I can finish, because I did let you finish.
Sure.
So look, that bill that is being introduced today, I think, is an outlier and is going to be a non-starter with many Republicans. As you laid out earlier, Eric, President Trump has laid out 4 things that he wants to get done on this deal, and all are incredibly reasonable, trying to address some issues with chain migration, getting rid of the visa lottery, which I've not heard anyone make a good argument for keeping. And he also says that he wants something along the southern border in terms of a wall. This is something that Democrats, including Senator Dianne Feinstein, voted for at one point in their careers not that long ago.
Lisa, you think it'll up or down, it'll pass, or dead in the water?
I think everything's dead in the water right now, personally.
All right, up against the clock. Thank you both.
Thank you, Eric.
Sandra?